I'm Julia.
And I'm Robert, and you are watching Mission 360.
Mission 360 comes to you from the office of Adventist Mission at the Seventh-day Adventist Church World Headquarters. Every week we focus on mission stories and challenges all around us.
Today on Mission 360, we'll be looking at how we can touch people's lives by reaching up to God through prayer and Bible study, reaching out to people in our communities, and reaching across our fellow believers.
So we'll be looking at different examples from West Africa to the United States and from the country of Georgia to Australia. First, Gary Krause will be talking with Dr. Jan Paulson, former president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, about his experiences as a missionary, educator, and administrator.
Dr. Paulson, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you for a few minutes about your experience as a teacher, as a pastor, as an administrator, as a missionary, and what you've learned through the years. I want to start by going right back to when you had the first call to ministry. How did that happen?
Oh, it came to me very early in my youth. I mean, so early that many will question, weren't you too young then? I mean, could you sense a calling that young? And yet it was to me. I was in my teens. My early teens, 14, 15 years old, when I felt that God was calling me to ministry. And so that became a sort of a choice, a focus of my thinking and education from there on.
Tell me, when did you go to Africa?
I went to Africa, my wife and I, with our young daughter, just a few months old. We went to Africa in 1962, to West Africa, to Ghana, for a while, and then to Nigeria, where we stayed for a longer period.
Were you adequately prepared for mission service in Africa?
I suppose, in one sense, I suppose I was, and yet I was not, in the sense that you have now many processes by which missionaries are being better trained to make the cultural steps. And we had no mission institute in those days. You spent an hour, maybe, if you were fortunate, in the office of the person at the General Conference or in the division who had responsibility for finding missionaries, and they tried to explain to you what the assignment was. But prepared nevertheless, in the sense that you feel this is what God wants me to do. And so that becomes such a strong driving force in you that you say to yourself, come what may, God is going to go with me in this. I'm going to do it. And I want to do it well to His honor and glory. So there is that sense of partnership with God. And I felt that was strongly with us. My wife had the same conviction when we went to Africa. West Africa in particular, this was a challenging territory for health reasons. Malaria rampant, and my wife had some serious experiences with that, which has marked her for the rest of her life. And so it's a price you pay. But at the same time, it's an enormous fulfillment to sense that God is with you. This is His mission. This is His work. And there's a phenomenal fulfillment in being partner with God in mission.
Now, you were there teaching.
Yes.
You taught many people. What did you learn while you were there?
I discovered very early the enormous hunger of young men and women in Africa for education. Education was seen as the key to the future. We early on in our church, we saw that very, very strongly. And therefore, when we established mission globally, we didn't just preach. We did that too. That was important. We did evangelism. But we established numerous health institutions to train people, and we established healthcare, hospitals, clinics, so that in a blend of preaching, caring for their health, and teaching them, we had a package which would prepare people to function for God here and now. And that was important. And I think that as I look back to those days, we established the institutions very, very solidly. We trained African leaders. There wasn't a phenomenal growth in those days. The phenomenal growth that we've had in Africa happened after we turned over the leadership to African leaders, whom we've had the joy of training. And look at where God has taken our work in Africa since then. It's amazing.
Dr. Paulson, we talk about mission in the church and people use it sometimes, I'd say, carelessly. When you think of the mission of the church, what do you think of?
I think of something which is very, very broad. It encompasses the total life. Everything you encounter, and also time. Mission is not only to prepare people for eternity, it's to prepare people to function here and now. This is the life we have now. And just like Christ cared for people, he wants us to care for people here and now. I mean, this is, for example, why we started ADRA. It's a natural, normal instrument of the church to reach out into the suffering of humanity, to provide healing and hope. And that's what mission is all about. Yes, we will take people with us into eternity, but we will do everything we can in the name of Christ to give them a good quality of life here and now.
When we talk about holistic mission, how do we get the right balance?
I think the balance is something you have to work at all the time. And you just have to remember that we live now and we shall live eternally with God. We have a mission to do among suffering humanity here and now, and we will prepare in every possible way so that we can do that spiritually, but also in a physical way, so that we can bring the best in the name of Christ to people, covering their whole existence here and in the future. The reality as it is now and the possibilities that it will be for the future. And it's a balance that you work at all the time. How do I get this right? What you don't want to do is to get locked into one particular emphasis to the exclusion of others. You probably got it wrong then. You need to bring with you a broad spectrum, because human beings, we live across the whole spectrum of encounters, and that's why we have to meet them. We have to be courageous also. We have to do things in ways that maybe we didn't do before, untraditional ways, and yet, in the name of Christ, we will get it right.
Dr. Paulson, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you very much, Gary. It's a joy to be with you. It's good.
Now we'll head to Hagerstown, Maryland, to a church plant called Faith Step, whose members are reaching out to their community and caring for each other.
There's a lot of people here that are in specialty housing, Section 8 housing, where they get help from the government. A lot of people just living from paycheck to paycheck. A lot of dysfunctional families, a lot of families that are just really, really hurting. And there's drugs here. There was a crack house right across the street that they did a raid on last summer. Had a couple of people that were murdered here down the street not too long ago. And so this neighborhood is a little bit rough.
For more than 10 years, a small church plant in the heart of Hagerstown, Maryland, has been reaching out to people in one of the tougher neighborhoods in town. Inside the small house where they meet, the fellowship is warm, the hugs are heartfelt, and the food is hot and delicious. This is Faith Step. Jeannie Ramos and her team at the Faith Step church plant are reaching out to people in this neighborhood. People who might not be comfortable stepping into an Adventist church on Sabbath morning.
Welcome to Faith Step. It's a good day today because the Lord has made this date for us.
Dolores is one of those who has found a church home in Faith Step. She was invited by her eye doctor, Eric Bergman, who's been part of Faith Step since it started.
The day I saw her, she just seemed to be somewhat depressed about everything, and I just felt I guess, God telling me to invite her to our church, and had with no idea what would happen.
Dolores came to church that first Sabbath and found something that would change her life.
Well, Dolores came in, I can remember the first day she walked into the back of our church, and she was pulling a little oxygen tank with her, and she was stooped over, almost completely bent over, and she had no color in her face. She sat in the back row, and she fell asleep half the time she was there. And then we just began seeing her change. We began seeing her participate, and we began seeing her just come alive as we would talk with her and share with her. And slowly but surely, God began to heal her in a lot of ways.
Dolores had been struggling with alcohol. She had started attending a recovery group and had turned her life around. But something was missing. That's when she found Faith Step and a church home where she could lean on her faith in Jesus and her new church family.
Now that I'm in the church group, I don't attend as many meetings because mostly if I need anything, my church family's right there.
Although Sabbath morning services are special to Dolores, it's the warmth of Christian love and the acceptance she's found there that really makes a difference to Dolores and others who found God's love at Faith Step.
My church family has made me feel so comfortable in that, not criticizing me or anything, or looking down on me because I had that issue. I can call and say, I'm really feeling down today, and the blah blah, and they'll say, well, why don't you come over, or they'll just talk to me on the phone for a little bit. It's been very helpful.
Next door to where Faith Step meets is an upstairs apartment that is home to a special ministry. Here, Faith Step partners with other community organizations to provide a safe and comfortable place where women can stay while trying to get their lives back together. A place they call Hannah's House. One resident shared her story in hopes it can help others turn their lives around.
When I was at the age of 12, I started dabbling in drugs and alcohol, and they made me feel like I belonged, and I thought I had found what I needed. It just led into a 33-year addiction with drugs and alcohol. And I was so far gone that I had just lost all hope. And it was until I was totally broken and I asked God for help did I start to recover.
The walls of this shelter give them a place to stay. But the women who stay here also learn how to find help in the Bible by learning to rely on Jesus.
And then I do a Bible study class with them and do discipleship to help them learn to grow in Christ and walk in a healthy way as a believer in Christ.
You have to have this heightened awareness of what He wants for you and how to live for Him. And it's in His will, not your will. Because left to my own devices, I know that I would screw up. So I just take it to the next level and take the high road and live for Him. It's easier to stay sober.
Faith Step is more than a church service. It's a holistic ministry that touches every aspect of a person's life. It's a 24/7 ministry that blesses those who give and those who receive.
As the time went by, I started realizing I'm not helping them, they're helping me. They make me grow spiritually. I see more answers to prayer. I see wonderful things happening.
As Faith Step reaches out to people in Hagerstown, it also has an impact on the lives of the people who are trying to help. Please pray for the Faith Step group as they minister to each other and to their community. And thank you for supporting Adventist mission around the world.
Mission 360 will be back after a short break.
One thing held in common by most cultures is the pleasure found in sitting down to enjoy a warm bowl of soup. Nancy Kite has collected and taste-tested recipes from more than 130 countries around the world. In A Taste of Travel, you will feast on the bounty of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains that nourish us. If you live in North America, please call our toll-free number or visit our website and ask for your free copy of A Taste of Travel.
Welcome back to Mission 360. Today's guest is Glenn Townend. He's from Perth, Australia.
Welcome to the program, Pastor Townend, President of the West Australian Conference, and a long time since we were at college together.
That's true.
When we talk about ministry in Australia, paint a picture for us of the context. We're not talking about a Christian country anymore, right?
No, not at all. Atheism is getting a lot of coverage on media, and a lot of people are talking about it and are quite openly debate against any belief in God.
So you have vast rural areas in Western Australia, but you also have urban areas such as Perth. Tell us a little bit about what's happening in Perth.
Yeah, Perth's nearly 2 million people, and to really get the attention of secular Australians, we've found that service works best. Whether it be taking friends on a overseas mission trip, or community gardening, or teaching people how to drive, or cleaning up a neighbour's backyard. They're the kind of things that our church people are doing. I get involved where I can, and it's getting people's attention. And that's what you've got to do first. Why would you do something for free with no strings attached? And people are surprised and amazed by that. And that leads to spiritual conversations, and from there on, you've got openings for the gospel.
Can you give me an example of how a church member or a pastor has been involved in this sort of ministry?
Yeah, one of our pastors has supported these community gardens, and has through that got a whole lot of different nationalities together. So there are Anglo-Australians, like I am. There are people from Burundi and people from the Karen tribe in Thailand, all working on the one property with a community garden. And as they work together, they understand each other a whole lot more. And out of that, there has been one group and 2 churches established.
Wow. So this is in Perth itself?
It's in Perth itself. Yeah, right in the well, not in the heart of the city, in one of the suburbs.
Now, I know that you have a very strong focus on church planting in the conference. And this is something you're trying to foster among your pastors and lay people. And churches are being planted. How does this affect the spirit of the church when they're focused on mission?
Oh, I've got to say, I get less phone calls about what's going wrong.
Right.
And complaints about this not being right or that not being right. And I get far more phone calls of, hey, Pastor, what do you think of this idea? Could we try this to reach this kind of people? Like a group of young people recently said, we'd love to run a bike club, mountain biking. Do you think that would work? And it's easy to say, I don't know, but have a go. Try it out. And so, yeah, it's really exciting because it is true. I can, since we've had that focus, complaints have gone down and interest and ideas have gone up.
So you try to foster a spirit of experimentation?
Absolutely.
So that means you're learning some lessons, I guess, from ministry.
I hope we are.
So what have you learned from the experience in Perth?
One, to be patient. It takes a while to get people's attention for the gospel, but if you don't give up, things will happen. Also, Jesus said the harvest is ripe, and we've always found a harvest of people ready to respond. We've also noticed that prayer is a huge factor. Where the people are united in prayer, that's where real ministry really starts happening. It's always kind of a foundation. Yeah.
Now, you're focusing on getting lay people involved, pastors involved in ministry, but you have a wider mission viewpoint than just Western Australia. Tell us a little bit about your international focus.
Well, we have 7 countries where we do overseas mission projects, and they're in Africa, Asia and the Pacific. And so we send mission teams out there, and we've found out that as people go out cross-culturally, they come back with more mission enthusiasm. And they learn things about how the gospel's going forward in the kingdom of God in other parts and come back and put it into practice.
Yeah, I met one young man in Perth who told me about how it had changed his life going to Mongolia.
Yeah, we hear that regularly. Just recently I saw 3 young men stand and accept Jesus Christ, and I took those 3 young men on a mission trip to Papua New Guinea. And yeah, I mean, I was a blubbering mess because, you know, they were good young men, but needed a real focus. And the mission trip got their attention, nurture and other things helped, and then an evangelist came and they made a decision, and it was fantastic.
Tell me of your goal for church planting in Western Australia. You have a number in mind.
Yeah. Well, when I first went there, they said they had not planted a new church for more than 20 years. And I'd been a church planter, and I thought, that's terrible. God, let's see if we can do something. And we have a goal of 200 new churches by the year 2020.
Fantastic. And you've already planted?
53.
Fantastic. Glenn, thank you so much for sharing with us today. God bless you in your work.
Thank you.
From Western Australia, let's go to the country of Georgia and meet a young boy whose love for God helped him reach out and be a witness at his school.
Welcome to Georgia, not in the United States of America, but a small country in Eastern Europe that used to be part of the former Soviet Union. It is located on the Black Sea and lies between the countries of Turkey and Russia. Georgia is home to about 4 million people, and it is famous for its grapes and its bread called poree. This bread is baked in special clay ovens, and the baker places the bread on the walls of the circular oven. They need to be careful not to fall in. The largest city in Georgia is the capital, Tbilisi, which is home to more than 1.5 million people. One of these is a 5-year-old boy named Luca. He enjoys spending time with his family and playing on the playground near his apartment. He also likes to play with his toys and on his father's computer. Luca's father is a pastor, and Luca heard that his father was going to have evangelistic meetings. He decided to invite his kindergarten teacher, Miss Ketty, to the meetings. Luca loved his teacher, and he wanted her to love Jesus just like him. She attended the meetings and found that her life was changed.
When I came to the program, there were 20 meetings, and I attended 19 of them. And I liked it so much, and I felt that this was what I was searching for.
Miss Ketty was baptized and today is a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Georgia. Luca was so happy that the teacher he loved learned to love Jesus as much as he does. Luca learned to love Jesus through the special time that he spends with his family. reading the Bible and studying about Jesus. Most Adventist children in Georgia, though, have a hard time learning about Jesus because they don't have access to any Sabbath school lessons in their own language. They are lucky if they are able to find a Bible that they can read as well. This quarter, part of the 13th Sabbath offering will go to print children's material in the local languages of the countries of Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. This will help to train the young children and help them to grow spiritually so that they can share the love of Jesus with their friends and neighbors. Please think of these children when you are giving your 13th Sabbath offering this quarter. Luca and all the other children from this part of the world, thank you for your wonderful gifts of love.
Mission 360 will be back after a short break.
One thing held in common by most cultures is the pleasure found in sitting down to enjoy a warm bowl of soup. Nancy Kite has collected and taste-tested recipes from more than 130 countries around the world. In A Taste of Travel, you will feast on the bounty of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains that nourish us. If you live in North America, please call our toll-free number or visit our website and ask for your free copy of A Taste of Travel.
I hope you enjoyed visiting the urban mission field today and that you've learned something new from what you've heard.
There's so much need in our world. People are looking for hope, truth, and healing. Someone who will love them just as Jesus did. We hope the ideas shared here will inspire you to see mission in a holistic, up-close, and personal approach.
So take time to be a blessing in someone's life today. We also ask you to pray for the hundreds of missionaries who have left the comfort of their home to touch people's lives for Christ.
If you want to learn more about Adventist Mission, just visit our website at adventistmission.org. There's a world of mission information on our website. Thanks for joining us today, and I hope you can join us next week right here on Mission 360.